ready, Tom?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome everyone. Please, if you have a cell phone and you have not already done so, silence them at this time so that they're not going off during our meetings. I believe we have a couple of presentations tonight. Mr. Coleman, would you like to introduce?
All right, so first we have our Franklin A. High School show choir. They're going to be coming and performing. We're so excited to have them tonight.
Hi.
If you would like to say anything before we start. Okay.
Can you hear it? It's really quiet. I'm sorry.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm a storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked the angels trod? And when you kissed your little baby, when you kissed him, you have kissed the face of God. you know.
Thank you guys. We have another song for you, but not all of our members will be with us. This was a joint choir. It was show choir and our concert choir together. The next song will be only our show choir. Unfortunately, we do not have enough space to dance for you today. So that just means you'll have to come to our concert on Thursday, right? We do have a concert on Thursday where we will be singing this next song, which is Once Upon a December, and bear with me for the speakers. Sorry.
Dancing bears, hazy wings, things I almost remember, and a song someone sings once upon a December. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses press through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses press through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory. Far away, long ago, glowing dim as an ember, things my heart used to know, things it yearns to remember, and a song someone sings once upon a
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Now we have Miss Dietz, Principal of Swanee.
Aye. Well, that's a hard act to follow, and I promise I won't be that entertaining, but I am certainly going to give you a lot of good information about Swanee Elementary School. So many of you know Mr. Mike Maxson, a former principal at SES, and to this day, every time I see him, he reminds me that being the principal at Swanee Elementary School is a paid vacation. Now, we know that we're not all real sure about that, even though Swanee Elementary School is a fantastic place to be and work. But for that reason, I want to welcome you aboard the SES Tiger Voyage. I'm going to just go through a few slides and show some of the great things that are happening and how we're being intentional up on the mountain. First, I'm going to start with our ratings, because any vacation you take, you're going to want to look at your ratings to see what you're getting into.
Welcome aboard the SES Voyage. We hope you enjoy your visit.
Perfect. Thank you. So here, I'm going to start with our ratings, and here is our achievement, and I hope that you all can see, as we relate to this state. So here is the achievement measures for ELA, math, and science. And as you can see, Suwannee Elementary School certainly shines when it comes to achievement.
Welcome aboard.
Wait, could you read a couple of the numbers?
Oh, I can. So in ELA, the state was 41.1% proficient in advanced, and Suwannee Elementary was 74.1%. In math, the state was 42.4%, and Suwannee Elementary was 69%. And in science, the state was at 44%, and Suwannee Elementary was 75%. So this is my favorite slide. I am happy to announce that a couple of weeks ago, Suwannee Elementary School received a reward school designation from the state. This was earned due to our achievement rate, as well as our ability to grow our students and our attendance rate. The last piece of our rating, of course, comes from our parents. Here is just a quick survey I did at the end of our parent-teacher conferences, just to make sure that my staff and myself did a good job relaying information to our parents about where their students are, where we're going to go with their students, and maybe some strengths and weaknesses they have as well. Those are just some feedback comments that were dropped in the survey as well. So, of course, we want to engage our families as much as possible. So here is a list of things we have done this fall as far as parent engagement is concerned. But I want to point out our newest piece that was just added. So Ms. Barnes, who is still here, she went to a conference this summer, and a piece she brought back was kind of built around parent engagement. So recently, she has started Wednesday Centers. She invites parents to come in every Wednesday. This is not only a great opportunity for our kids to have an adult in a center game-like fun activity, but also a great way for our parents to learn new ways that they can help their kids grow and learn and practice things they're learning at school at home. So now we're going to get down to our ship and our overall operations. Here you can see a photo of just our administrative staff. This slide shows our cruise directors. And of course, these people are the ones that are responsible for engaging and guiding our students in their daily activities. They're always ensuring that everyone is learning, growing, and having meaningful experiences. And these are our entertainment specialists. As you can see, we have our fine arts, PE, library, and guidance. And not only do they create memorable experiences, they are also always really good about integrating what's going on in the classroom into our specialty classes. Next, we have our guest support services. Whatever our guest needs, we will find a way to support them. So these four ladies go above and beyond at making sure that if anybody needs a little extra help in whatever area they can help with, they make sure it happens. And then, of course, they have their team as their guest support assistants. And, of course, this slide shows the reason why we're all there. Because of our passengers. We want to make sure that they have a wonderful experience, because a happy passenger is always the key to a successful journey. So now that we've talked a little about our ratings and our crew manifest, we're going to talk about the things that we do to go above and beyond to make sure we keep our ratings up. So as you're running a school, it's important that everybody is on the same page. Our mission is focused around educating the whole child, and all of our decisions revolve around that. As a staff, we always sit together at the end of the school year or at the beginning of the school year as soon as we get some data back from the state, and we create our 3 academic goals, which also go into our school improvement plan that's turned in here to the district and then pushed on to the state. You can see there that this year our big goals are to grow 2% in ELA and math on the state test, 3% on the district screeners and assessments. And then, of course, we're also improving our Ready Graduate by increasing awareness in those secondary paths. We've had a lot of community members come in just to kind of show some students some opportunities of some careers that they may be interested in. So next, we're going to talk about how we meet these goals. And that is just by growing and doing what we can to make our students reach their full potential. We use a school-wide data tracker. We track our students over time from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. It not only helps us see where our students are and how they're improving, it also helps us to see trends amongst subject levels or grade levels. We also rely on the TVAS scores from the state. As you can see there, Suwannee Elementary did a fantastic job this year growing our students at least one full year, if not multiple years over some subjects. And we ended up with a school-wide level 4 score from the state for that. And I also want to give a big shout out to my teachers and students for reaching that, because we know that it is very hard to grow when you're already a high achieving school. So kudos to my teachers for that. They did a great job. And then, of course, as a staff, we feel that it's important for us to grow. So we have been working with Mrs. Steele and Ms. Fortier on the IPGs that the state has released for ELA and math. We're really pushing our teachers into that core action 3 as we're planning our lessons. The biggest piece there is really just pushing the work off onto our students as much as we can throughout these lessons. Obviously, we want them to lift the heavy loads throughout the lesson, not the teacher in the classroom, just to show that they are mastering. So now we plan our voyage. In order to accomplish this, we do all those things and probably some more that I just didn't get up there. The biggest thing on this slide that I would like to highlight as a school, we spend a lot of time, probably more than some of the teachers do want to spend in our PLCs, really looking at our standards analysis from the state. We work in vertical levels. We've actually even met with some other schools as we've gone through this procedure this year in our PLCs, and we've really tried to dig down deep on the standards that we're really great at and how can we help other grade levels maybe grow in those standards. We've also tried to choose 2 standards per grade level and per subject area for us to really focus on to help making sure that we're pushing for some growth. Next, we create the itinerary, and of course, we do lots to do for that as well. We spend a lot of time making sure that our curriculum, as we're planning our lessons, correlate with what the state wants us with those state standards and those focus documents. Most of my teachers, actually all of them, because they have been there with me for several years now, have gone through the unit prep protocol with the district. We still do lesson prep sessions together weekly as long as we don't have any other planning periods that are taken away from our teachers. We use Planbook, and then of course, they put a lot of thought into their execution, and then as I go in and do observations, we have some good conversations and some feedback sessions there as well. The biggest thing to creating the itinerary goes back to my teachers, and that is just them simply adding their teacher magic. This is where the teachers can really take the opportunity to put their magic touch on each lesson as they're going through the curriculum. This will look a lot like some room transformations, some enrichment activities, or just taking something that's in the curriculum and making it a hands-on activity that comes to life. We take all of that and we put into our daily operations. We try to be mindful of the state's recommended times for each subject just to make sure that we're spending enough time on topic. And of course, every cruise ship has to have a sail away party. And at Suwannee Elementary School, we do that every Friday morning. We highlight any achievements and celebrate anything from our passengers and crew that has happened throughout the week. Lastly, to ensure that our passengers are receiving the best experience, we work on building community, and that's also a big part of our mission statement. So we do this in 2 phases. We start the school year really kicking it off inside our building. This year, we started the school year off with an Olympic theme. So for the first 2 weeks of school, we took about 10 minutes out of every day where we had an Olympic game. This was a great opportunity for all of our students K through 5 to come out. And of course, we made sure that the game, the idea behind it was for them to end up with a student from another grade level that they may not know. And the goal was for them to learn something about another person in their school, as well as another familiar face and a name. You can see here in the little pictures to the right of the center, these are our first and third grade buddies. First grade spends a lot of time on fluency because that's the year where our kids are really learning to be independent readers. I taught first grade, that is where my heart is, but I do not miss the timed reading. And fortunately, my teachers in first grade this year have come up with a great idea. So they meet up with third grade at the end of their lunch period, and their third grade buddy times them. They give feedback to their student, they help them on words, then they also write down the time that goes back to the teacher. So it's great fluency practice, as that is our goal. And then of course, when they are ready for the big fluency assessment with their teacher, they are more than prepared. Building community on the outside of our building. You guys know Suwanee is a very tight-knit community. So far this year, we've sent supplies to North Carolina. Our Red Ribbon Week, we partnered with Animal Harbor, where we brought in supplies and stuff that they needed there, and they were kind enough to actually bring pets to our school to teach our students pet care and the importance of pets and how to handle pets, especially ones you're unfamiliar with. We also have a lot of the sports team that visit us to work with our students and teachers as needed, or they'll just come and eat lunch with our kids, somebody to talk to. Currently happening as we're going into Christmas, our first and second graders will go carol around the community next week just to put a smile on some faces. First grade has done the Christmas market. This ties in with their ELA curriculum, the actual unit they're doing now. Miss Barnes and Miss Camp put a spin on it where they are creating their own market experience. So if you guys need something to do over the next week, please come shop in our first grade market. It's a great experience for our kids, and all of the fundraising or proceeds from that it stays in Suwanee and goes to the Operation Noel.
What time is that?
It's from 2 to 3:15.
Every day till next Wednesday, through next Wednesday. So yes, please stop by. So the last thing we have is just some additional activities for our guests as any cruise line. We have an after-school choir that is hosted from the church across the street. They come and pick our kids up on Wednesdays at 2:30 and do a choir lesson with them each week. We have a boys basketball team. Our yearbook staff is full on students, so they spend a lot of time in that club. Our fifth graders this year, if you guys are not part of our Facebook page, please join it. Our fifth graders have learned to not only film themselves and create their own little newscasts, they have really done well at splicing and cutting and putting all their things together. So that is less on the teachers that oversee that. So they've really taken some good accountability there and grown that. We have some chapters and chats session before school. This is one of my upper grades ideas to promote reading chapter books instead of those sweet little graphic novels that all kids want to read because there's less words in them. So she uses that to encourage that as well.
Thank you for visiting the SES Fort. I hope you come back soon.
And these are some of my little Tiger News friends. They made that all on their own once they learned what I was reading. Once again, thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Good job. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. My kiddo's at the 4-H speech contest, so I'm sailing away to Norton. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
All right, Ms. Patty, do we have any public input for this? That takes us to item F, which is approval of agenda. Please take a look.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Cole. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Takes us into item G, which is the consent agenda, which will have the minutes for November. It is the only item there.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion approved by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Schultz. All in favor say aye. Aye. That motion carries as well. Dr. Coleman, that takes us to the director's report.
All right, so the very first thing is that we're here tonight to recognize, we want to celebrate it from the mountaintop, from the roof. We have two graduates, we're calling them graduates of the Grow Your Own program. We have Ms. Kayla Williams and Ms. Maddie Cowan, our system's first two teacher apprentice to complete the Grow Your Own program. They have been working as educational assistants in their respective schools while completing a 2 years of coursework at UT Southern, as well as all of the requirements for the teacher licensure. And so we have those two tonight that we want to celebrate, because we have two more apprentices that will finish in the spring, and we have currently 5 that are currently enrolled in the program. So Ms. Kayla Williams began Grow Your Own program with us in January 2023, and she's now at Huntland, and her mentor for the apprentice was Miss Krista Fanning. So at this time, Miss Kayla. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Now we have Miss Maddie Cowan. And Miss Maddie teaches at Cowan. We greatly appreciate the stewardship of Miss Stewart. Miss Stewart, Senator Stewart, she leads this group, does a phenomenal job, and I greatly just appreciate all of her guidance that she provides me as well as the students, and we're excited to continue this. This speaks volumes that we're growing our own as we know that we're in a time where
we conduct the physical security assessments of the schools and do critical infrastructure surveys and amongst other things. Chief Perry and I were going to speak before you guys about social media. He asked me if I would speak with him, and then he had a prior engagement, so you guys are stuck with me now. But before, when I was talking to him, I was asking him about what his issue was, and he said his basic single biggest issue is the single, unverified social media threat that ends up being nothing, but by the time it's all over with, there's a big game of telephone that goes on because of the social media posts, and the law enforcement ends up chasing out 10 things that are actually stemmed from one thing. So in trying to come up with something that would interest, the social media things that would interest you guys, I found a report, and it's new information, valid information. It's April of this year. The Department of Homeland Security, the RAND Corporation, funded by the Federal Department of Homeland Security, came up with developing practical responses to social media threats in schools. So it's pertinent information. I hope it'll keep me between the lines of what to talk to you guys about. And to give you the Reader's Digest version, there are six takeaways from this study. The first recommendation they had is our responses must balance between a risk of credible threat and disruption caused by repeated hoaxes. One way to strike this balance is to work closely with law enforcement to identify less overt response options that start at a lower intensity and can be scaled up rapidly as the threat investigation proceeds. We do that. When we have social media threats, the SROs and schools get together. They determine the validity of the threat, conduct an investigation. They don't immediately start locking down things. Often it'll go from a soft lockdown, and then that gives you the ability to scale up. So the recommendations that they're doing are the things that we already do. Another recommendation under this was that everybody uses the same verbiage, the schools and the law enforcement. officers, and we do that. All school districts nationwide aren't the same, but I think we're all on the same page as far as soft lockdowns, and what's taking place with all that. And we talked about it this morning in the safety meeting, and we'll go, when we have our drills later in the year, we'll go over and make sure that stuff happens, but I'm pretty confident it's already taking place. And with this graduated response, one of the reasonings behind it is, if the kids are making false threats and they know we'll respond to everything, they'll keep doing it to get what they want, to get out of class, or just to see a response, or get out of a test or whatever. If we're able to respond the way we do and go to a soft lockdown, it's kind of seamless, and all the learning still takes place with minimal interruption. So the second recommendation is habituating students and school staff to certain response measures. It can potentially alleviate the fear and trauma that they might otherwise cause during threat and other emergencies. We already do this. We habituate the students by when they have a medical emergency in this district, in the school, they go into a soft lockdown. In addition to that, we have a constant SRO presence in our schools. Not everywhere in the United States has that. We have it so the students are a little more acclimated than other districts may be. Having students acclimated at an early age may make it less likely that they start Snapchatting or something every time they see a uniform in their school. Third thing, establishing a strong reporting culture in which students, parents, and others immediately report threats when they become aware of them. This can give decision makers more time to make critical response decisions. Establishing a strong reporting culture is kind of on all of us. We have to work together to make students and parents comfortable in reporting to either the schools or law enforcement. We want them to be aware of the seriousness of the threats, but not to the extent that they're scared to talk to a teacher, principal, or counselor, or SRO. If they're not comfortable, they need to at least be aware that there's an anonymous route they can report these type threats. And we've got that with the SafeTN app, and I think you guys have them posted in each of your schools. So we want kids to realize it's serious, but we don't want to make them so scared of reporting something that they don't report it. And we do that. I think we're pretty good on that. We have avenues for them to do it if it's a legitimate threat. Again, most of our threats aren't even coming from our district. They're coming from other states. They're swatting type calls and things like that. Number 4, the lack of a standard nationwide or even statewide protocols for responding to social media-based threats exacerbates the significant challenges that schools face in this area. So basically, there's not a standard. I imagine if they came up with a standard, it would be very similar to what we're already doing. We've been going through this stuff for several years now, and I mean, that's probably why there's not a standard, is because each situation's kind of unique, and if you pinpoint certain things, it may make it difficult in some situations. But the 5th one, the potential consequences of threat making, even when threats are meant to be jokes, are not sufficiently emphasized to students and others in the community. We talked about this again in the safety meeting this morning. Again, the majority of these social media threats, they don't care about the consequences because they're probably not even here. They could be overseas. They could be aware if they're a swatting type call. They don't care about the consequences. But regarding our students and our community, there's not a social media threat notice that goes out at the beginning of the year that I'm aware of. I checked with other districts. They don't do that either. But I don't know. There probably should be a way that we make parents aware of it, how that would be done. I don't know, you guys probably have some good ideas of that, but it is a recommendation that people are made aware of these consequences. And we talked about some of the options this morning. It might not hurt to send out some quick pointers to parents, advising parents and students of the consequences. Let them know the consequences are serious. Threats of mass violence, it's a relatively new statute. Not everyone's aware that it's a felony. They may not be, and another thing with these threats, these kids that are making them, and we have had some of these, that the kids that are making Snapchat threats and things like that, they're not aware that the social media companies are reporting this to law enforcement. It's not, they probably say, well, I'm not going to do it on the school system because they're watching me. Well, it's not just the school system that's watching you. Snapchat and Meta and everyone, when they pick up their AI programs, everything, when they pick up on these threats, it gets forwarded to law enforcement and we respond. And so students and parents may not be aware of that, or whoever's making the threat may not be aware of it. Right now, the students are finding out by getting arrested, and that's how they get the message. And as you guys know, with zero tolerance policies, it may not be the best course of action in the long term. It goes back to that strong reporting culture, and I wrote this example here. Julie's friend Steve made a threat that she doesn't want to tell anyone because she doesn't think Steve meant it, and she doesn't want Steve to go to jail. So we got to kind of strike that balance with our threat assessment teams and all that, as far as the punishment and creating that culture where the students feel safe to report, or whoever's going to make the threats feel safe to report it. Number 6, sharing responsibilities allows for local education agencies and law enforcement personnel to draw on one another's unique capabilities during the threat investigation process, and has been critical in making difficult and potentially high-stakes decisions in response to threats. We do this. The principals and SROs coordinate on the threats, keep each other informed. Anything I get from our threat desk and the safety in app, it goes to the chief and the SROs immediately. They notify the principals, and our threat assessment teams coordinate the investigation and a decision's made in the best course of action. Now that's the 6 things that they recommend. And there's a couple of other things of note in the study that they recommended. Sharing basic threat and emergency response plans regularly with families outside of threat events can help better prepare the school community for actual emergencies and alleviate some of the panic that threat situations induce. It's been a significant interruption of law enforcement and other response efforts. So if you like sharing the Adams 12 School District Parent Reunification YouTube video, it's a YouTube video that tells parents what to do in these threat type situations. And it basically boils down to, it's a good video, and it shows parents getting locked up, going to jail because they showed up at the school. But if you share information like that, and this thing is basically, it's stay home, stay informed, be ready. If they would do that, if you send it out and 10 parents do that and don't show up at a school during an emergency, then it was worth sending out because it was 10 people you didn't have to deal with. The schools, the drills our schools and local emergency responders are seen by the parents in the community. Maybe post on social media what you've done during these drills when we have a big one and what agencies participated. Give kudos to everybody who's involved. I mean, show them that your school district and responders are doing everything they can to ensure the safety of the kids. Final note mentioned in the study and was discussed by our team and has been discussed by our team is the social media messaging from the district and these type of things. Experts note that consistency in messaging is key. School administrators, local law enforcement, and any other responding agencies should work together to disseminate the same message about a specific threat situation in an effort to avoid the spread of misinformation and that big game of telephone that causes so many problems. Communicate clear social media guidelines to students and families, informing them about what could constitute a threat. Reinforce the importance of reporting by instructing parents on what to do when they see a threat online. Report it, don't repost it. That would alleviate a lot of problems if they did that. I asked a couple of school districts if they sent out any social media recommendations to parents. Nobody did. Nobody does. Some of them are probably, a lot of them may not have faith that the parents are even going to look at it or paying attention to it, and some fear that it may cause a bogus threat. If they mention it, it gets put it in somebody's head that maybe they'll send it out. I kind of doubt that if you just put something out there that says report it, don't repost it, and a copy of the TCA code, I don't know if that would spur a bogus threat. It might help something. The last thing that we've talked about in the safety briefings, as far as the social media goes, is about communicating to parents after a threat. The things that are probably the best to do: acknowledge that a threat has been received, a description of basic actions taken by the school and law enforcement to respond to the threat, confirmation that the students and staffs are safe, and any directions to reunification or pickup locations. And we've added some stuff for the safety team meetings that are important, like set an update every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even if you don't have any new information. But that was also in the report that they were recommended. And we talked about a good thing to do is come up with preloaded social media posts regarding some of this stuff that you can edit when you're not under the gun of an emergency situation. Like have some boilerplate things laid out so you're not trying to figure out your wording during an emergency. And that was all I could come up with that I could hit on. Hopefully I hit enough of it. If you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to ask any, or you can ask me after the meeting. But thanks for y'all's time and interest in this stuff. If you guys have any questions or need to get hold of me, Chris Hawkersmith's y'all's guy. He and Chief Perry always know where I am. So thank y'all.
Are you the Homeland Security person tied to our district?
Yes. I'm assigned to Franklin County.
So
Yep.
did you say that this is now a felony if they make a threat?
The threat of mass violence is a felony.
I think some children just don't realize that.
Probably not. I mean,
Parents
just a regular threat, assault. There's misdemeanor assault, but the threats of mass violence it's a serious offense. They may not realize it. It couldn't hurt to make people aware of it, I don't think.
I
So,
think that's important.
yeah. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much. All right. At this time, we're going to have a spotlight from our math district coach, Ms. Shauna Fortier.
Can make sure how to work this.
Still not.
I don't think so.
I'll take for you.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, I am Shauna Fortier and I have the honor of serving our incredible teachers in Franklin County as being the kindergarten through 8th grade math coach. And I'm here to share a little bit about what I do with you guys and how it impacts schools. I want to share with you first our shared vision for mathematics. This was actually created 2 years ago by our district math team, and it states, using high-quality, standards-based materials, all Franklin County students are provided mathematics instruction in a discussion-rich environment where students feel safe to engage in productive struggle and receive meaningful feedback in order to develop conceptual understanding and problem-solving skills to help them succeed in a mathematical world. My role is multifaceted, but at the core, I support teachers and administrators with math instruction. I also help them implement their new elementary and middle school curriculums. But as always, the heart of my work is students' success, growth, and achievement. This is my first year in this role, so I have been blessed enough to have 2 different learning networks to work alongside. The first one is NIT, and they have supported me going on learning walks in classrooms and also delivering face-to-face feedback to teachers. The second network is All In, and thanks to a grant through that network, we were able to purchase math manipulatives and other materials off of teachers' wish lists that will enhance student learning in the math classroom. Under supports, I serve 106 teachers, and these are all of the supports I have helped them with this year. Primarily, though, my work involves check-ins, learning walks, giving feedback, co-planning with teachers, and then offering professional development opportunities. This actually leads into something really exciting. Moving on into next semester, we are taking a different approach to coaching. We are actually going to be in-house in different schools for 2 to 3 days at a time. When I say we, I mean myself and the ELA coach, Amber Steele. And we will be giving shoulder-to-shoulder support with teachers. Those 3 little icons out to the side, those are actually the available supports where teachers and administrators will pretty much get to customize their support. That way we can base our support on personal goals, school-wide goals, and district goals. And like the bottom says, the goal is to deliver targeted support. We are really excited to be more intentional and focused. That way, it's not only more meaningful for teachers, but it also leads to student achievement. The last thing I'd like to share with you guys that's coming in January is what I'm most excited to share. I applied for 2 different grants, one with TVA and one with the Ed Foundation, and I was fortunate enough to receive both with a total of $6,500. With this money, I plan to jumpstart a program called the Classroom Economy. I am piloting this program at Deckard Elementary starting in January, thanks to Miss Megan Gear and Miss Sue Heaton and their 5th grade team. What this program is going to be is designed for 5th grade students to build financial literacy and career readiness. They will apply and hold jobs within the school, varying from groundskeeper to media specialist to library assistant. And they will work twice a week to earn an income. And to simulate the real world, they will be expected to owe rent and utilities. Also simulating the real world, they can earn bonuses through things like perfect attendance on a weekly basis. They will be able to earn bonuses through AB honor roll, first honor roll, second honor roll, and outstanding behavior. On the opposite of that, they can also be fined for breaking classroom and school policies. Let's see. Like I said, I am piloting this just at Deckard for January to May. However, I do have enough funds. I would like to collect the data and make adjustments as necessary. That way I can present this to all schools and hopefully partner with them to implement it for all 5th grade students. It is my hope that this will not only teach them future skills that they'll need in the real world, but something also that they'll remember and enjoy. That is until they are introduced to inflation in March. So, thank you guys for your time tonight. I love what I do, and I know that I cannot do it without your support. If there are not any questions, good evening and happy holidays.
She's like, oh my gosh, I'm glad this is over. All right, next on the agenda, I do believe, is the project updates. You all received this in your weekly update, but just wanted to include it here as well, so I won't go through those. It's the Rock Creek parking lot, the Deckard parking lot, and also the Huntland doors for the sake of time, unless you all have any questions. Okay. At this time, I'll yield my time to Austin.
No policies this month, so just
Is that a Christmas present?
Yes.
That's right.
just a few items of business in the employment arena. We have had 8 employments since last month. We have currently have 16 positions open. One of them that is listed has been filled, but we added one. We filled the supplement-only track and field coach at North, but we added the golf coach at Frank County High School. So that's all I have.
Did we ever get a swim coach?
No.
That is it.
Takes us down to item I. Ms. Majeski for our legislative update.
Okay, so for the legislative update, don't really have a lot of new stuff in there. However, I have a correction from last time. So last month, if you weren't here, if you go back and read through the update from last month, I sort of walked through what the Education Freedom Act of 2025 really will kind of mean for families, for schools, for communities, for the state of Tennessee. I mistakenly called it the Education Freedom Scholarship Act, which is what the bills last year were called. And so I want to make a correction. It's now the Education Freedom Act of 2025. But I wanted to also point out that taking off the word scholarship was probably also intentional, because if you take out the word scholarship, it sort of makes you stop thinking about the money piece of this. And as we've talked about before, they've already set aside $142 or so million from before in the hopes that they'll pass this. And that's just for starters. They want you to kind of focus on the education and the freedom part. And as people have mentioned, I think Sarah particularly before, that families already have the freedom to choose a private school if that's their choice. And in fact, Tennessee, as I list here with data from the National Center for Education Statistics, and you can click on the links at home if you go to this. We already have sort of above the national average of students in private school. So again, plenty of educational freedom out there already. And so if you look at what this means, there's not necessarily freedom for your child to go to a particular school because the private schools still can keep all their rules about who they will and won't take. So again, you may think families may think they have the freedom to send a child to a private school, but the private school may not opt for them. Private schools take everyone, educate everyone. And then the money, I won't read you all of these things, but it's just kind of worth pointing out things. So I've got North Carolina's numbers. At first they set aside $10.8 million for their universal vouchers in 2014 and 15. By 2022, 2023, that was up to $140 million, more than 10 times the initial amount. The 23 to 25 budget further expanded, adding millions, and by 2031 to 32, more than $500 million will be allocated to vouchers each year. In Arizona, it went from $65 million in 2022 to $332 million, and then another $429 in cost is expected for this year. That's a lot more money than was initially set aside. So as I kind of end here, it's technically true that the money for education, at least in Tennessee, they're saying is not coming from the public education pot. However, at least in other places, and my understanding is that that's kind of how it's working here too, is that basically they'll give tax credits to businesses and things. In Florida, for instance, like nearly $1.1 billion in tax credits were offered to fund the state's tax credit voucher program. And even at only 140, it might be 142, sorry, I must have mistyped. Even if it's only 140 some million this year, and it's set to go up every year, what else could we do for education with that amount of money in the state? So, again, at the top of the page, I have the links for our legislators. If you have thoughts on these things, I urge you to contact our legislators. And then my second thing, very much in the vein of this, is a resolution opposing the Education Freedom Act of 2025. And I apologize to the board because I did not finish or submit this until today, so you may or may not have had time to read through this. So last year we passed a resolution against the Education Freedom Scholarship Act, and this is a similar thing in the same vein. Again, I just added some of the additional things about this sort of new iteration of it that we talked about before. Like they would give private schools the full 70-75 that an individual child is allotted for base pay if they go to private school. But if they're in public school, they only give our school district roughly 70%, so roughly $4,952. And so again, the state will be giving more state money to an individual private school per student than it will for public school. The rule for state testing, which if you were here earlier, you heard us talking with the county commission about. They are allowed to use according to the current bill, any national test. So again, why not give the extra money to public schools? Why not give us the same testing benefits? There are lots of questions, so it's kind of what this resolution is about. And I don't know are there questions?
You need a motion on this? Do we need a motion on this?
We will.
Yes.
So if we would make a motion to approve, then we could sign it, and then we could submit it to TSBA, share it with our legislators. Motion to approve the resolution?
I will make that motion.
I second. Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Latham, second from Ms. Schultz. Not correct? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion still carries.
Do we need to sign it?
Yes.
So,
I don't know. Do we have?
Patty, do you have that?
Okay. We can take care of that. All right.
Oh no, I did. I didn't change the name at the top.
I saw.
So maybe if we sign the other pages, is it okay if I send the corrected version
Sure.
to Ms. Patty, and then we can have the right title here?
You're allowed, you're wanting us to trust your life, Sarah.
So close. My apologies.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item J, which is finance. There's only one item there, and that is our November 2024 financial report. And the short piece on this is that, talked to Jenny about this, and everything is going along as scheduled. Revenues are still up, which is very encouraging on that. So we just need to receive the files.
Motion to receive and file November 2024 financial report.
Second.
We have a motion to receive and file 24 financial report, second by Ms. Leakey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. We have no new business. I'm sure that something didn't get added to that. There's a schedule of meetings below. You can read those as well as I can.
I do have a scheduled question. It looks like the TSBA legislation, like whatever, is the same day as our board meeting scheduled for February. I think it's at 10. Maybe.
I don't look at all.
So it's just, I mean, we can maybe do it next month. We'll take it.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We'll look at that. Sure.
It's 10th and 11th.
Okay.
I'll confirm that real quick, though.
It is. And then the 10th should be our meeting because it's the second Monday.
But does it?
It's in the afternoon. It's usually Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning.
Well, we'll discuss moving so that we can help everybody. Any other discussion?
Motion to adjourn.